First, NATO is not an Asian security organization. It's a transatlantic security organization. But NATO is also the principal security arm of the transatlantic community, and the challenges to that community can come from anywhere in the world. It's natural that leading countries in the free world, if I can use that term, such as South Korea and Japan and Australia, are all interested in cooperating with each other and with NATO at a time of increased threats in Europe and in Asia. This just makes sense. Our adversaries are working together, and so must we. The Biden administration, but previous US administrations, have devoted a lot of energy building relations, not just on a bilateral basis with South Korea, Japan, India, but also on a multilateral basis, that is working together. So it's not hubs and spokes, so it is a community of shared interest. And the NATO summit will mark another step in this good direction. We need South Koreans themselves understand that Russia's attack on Ukraine also damages them. I believe South Korea can help inform our understanding, our meaning US and NATO understanding of North Korea's policies and the significance and consequence of the budding North Korea-Russia quasi-alliance, which wouldn't be taking place if China didn't also support it. Korea is not a beleaguered country in a corner of Asia. It is a major economic power, and it is a shaper of security thinking, and it should be. It should be. The South Korean government, the South Korean society has real stakes in the free world, and I welcome its participation, input, and advice at the NATO summit. I'm not a military person, and I would not want to give military advice. South Korea is already a supplier of military equipment to NATO countries. For instance, its big sale of tanks to Poland. This was a very good move by the Polish government, in fact, to reach out to South Korea. It means that Poland is treating South Korea as a country in the front ranks of the free world. This is right. I think that the question of free world military capacity and defense industry is critical. We need to increase our defense production because we face adversaries who are arming very quickly. And so South Korea will play in this. And if South Korea makes some money along the way, well, okay too. This is going to be an area where we can neglect no longer. Now, the specific provision of weapons, look, this is something for the South Koreans to decide. Probably a good idea to consult with the US and other key NATO countries and part of the Ramstein, and soon I hope to be part of a new NATO structure. But South Korea is going to have a role to play, certainly, and this is a good thing for the free world. The key takeaway for me is that Moscow, lacking the self-confidence to become a country, a normal country, at peace with itself and its neighbors, is reverting to some of the old Soviet patterns of seeking out allies among those who are outcasts. It didn't work so well for the Soviet Union. It's not going to work so well for Russia in the meantime. But Putin wants to rebuild the Russian Empire, and he'll take the partners he can get. And so he has probably made South Korea more willing and more determined to help Ukraine defend itself against Russian aggression. Probably a mistake by Putin, but one of many mistakes. my thought when I thought of the summit is that Putin is reaching back to Stalinist models as well as old Russian imperial models, anything he can find, rather than actually do what Russia, I think, would be better off doing, which is joining the international community as a normal country. Well, I am sure that there are those in the Russian Foreign Ministry who understand that sacrificing relations with South Korea is probably not a good thing for Russia, and so they want to have it both ways. Of course they do. I don't know that they can. To be an enabler of North Korea, supporting Kim Jong-un, supporting his regime, and implicitly supporting his aggression and threats against South Korea is probably not going to earn Russia a lot of credit in the South Korean government and in South Korean society. Sanctions need to be coordinated on a multilateral basis. And now the Russians have drawn a link between the Russia sanctions regime and the North Korea sanctions regime. Now, the Russians have just about busted the UN North Korea sanctions regime. The committee of experts has been, I think, dissolved because the Russians forced it out of business. I think that free world countries need to cooperate on sanctions and on export controls and do a better job plugging up the leaks and going after companies that sell high technology to third countries that then transship it to Russia or North Korea. I'm sure that there are plenty of US companies as well as European companies who could do a better job checking downstream where their products are winding up. And we need to do this on a multilateral basis. If nobody's clean, that means nobody's uniquely guilty, which means we can all work together to do a better job.